All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
So, weil jetzt machen wir einfach alles nochmal, nur dass wir unseren Eimer dabei haben.
The good old bucket. Just Stanley and the bucket. Off on another thrilling adventure together.
Ja.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Ich mache erstmal die Sachen links noch. Glaube ich. Da sind noch ein paar.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find... Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
So, das unten hatten wir mit dem Eimer schon. Also sage ich jetzt, ich weiß noch nicht genau, wie ich es schneide, aber ich hatte letzte Aufnahme, hatte ich schon ein paar Eimer-Sachen gemacht. Aber die würde ich jetzt hier wahrscheinlich irgendwie mit reinschneiden oder so. Jedenfalls unten war ich schon mit dem Eimer. Vielleicht kommt es für euch dann noch. Das kann alles sein. Na? Komm, Trigger.
Stepping in.
Ah. Okay. Machen wir nämlich das hier mal wieder zuerst. Das mit dem Escape-Pod. Wo ja dann bei unserem Büro nebendran noch eine Tür aufging wieder. Dim, schleichen wir mal wieder zurück. Irgendwie, es fehlt mir hier wirklich, dass man nicht springen kann. Ich hätte mal echt drauf achten müssen, bei diesem Sprungkreis da nicht meine ganzen Sprünge aufzubrauchen. Um zu gucken, ob man dann hier einfach so random noch ab und zu springen kann. So. You are now leaving. Und hoffentlich mit meinem Eimer. Jetzt dürfen wir wieder ganz viel Treppen steigen. Und der Erzähler hat nichts zu erzählen. Das war ja letztes Mal auch schon so. Da bin ich mal gespannt, wenn wir dann mit dem Eimer ins Escape-Pod steigen, ob da was anders... da muss was anders sein, aber was da anders ist. Weil letztes Mal, das war ja einfach nur, wir sind dann da rein und dann hat es irgendwie neu gestartet. Das war ja jetzt nicht so der übelste Brüller. Bin ich mal gespannt. Die Eimer-Endings sind ja immer wieder gut. Noch eine Etage. Wie viel müssen wir noch? Eins noch? Oder sind wir schon da? Eins noch, glaube ich. Es ist sehr finster. Ich sehe sehr wenig. Ah ja, das sind wir. Escape. Ich sehe wieder nichts. Aber da kommt's. So. Jetzt will ich aber, dass hier auch was passiert. Oh, wie liebevoll. Eimer Schatzi. Nein, bleiben wir zurück und schicken Eimer-chan in die Sicherheit. Oh, für die Freiheit von Eimer-chan. Ach Gott, diese Eimer-Endings sind so emotional berührend. Das hat mich jetzt richtig mitgenommen hier.
Stanley knew the office layout like the back of his hand. It was only a matter of time before he found the others, wherever they were. Just a matter of time.
Oh nein, Eimerschein ist weg. Ich glaube, ich hatte das gelesen, aber Eimerschein kommt wieder, keine Sorge. Ich habe jetzt aber hier sonst gerade nichts zu tun. Ich starte mal neu und hoffe, er ist wieder da. Ah, wir haben das blaue Büro. Das ist super. Das habe ich noch gebraucht für das zusätzliche Ending. Tatsächlich. Ach, und Eimerschein ist auch wieder da. Sehr gut.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Weil wir haben jetzt hier das Whiteboard-Ending. Woo! Dog Mode. Welcome to the Whiteboard Ending. Ja gut, das... Okay. Hat mich jetzt nicht so aus
And
dem...
try not to lose this one too, you dolt.
Hey. Ich habe ihn nicht verloren, ich habe mich geopfert für ihn, damit er in Freiheit leben darf. Eimerschein hat schließlich noch eine Zukunft im Gegensatz zu mir.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Eimerschein hat noch sein ganzes Leben vor sich.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd... Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Jupp, diesmal machen wir uns wieder auf. Bis zur Mind Control Facility.
Stepping into his manager's
Nicht
office,
ganz.
Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
So, jetzt fahren wir wieder nach unten. Und weil es vorhin schon so lustig war, machen wir wieder das lustige Aufzug rauf und runter
The elevator
Fahrspiel.
raced downward,
Nur
plummeting
diesmal mit dem
towards an
Eimer.
unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Ich fahre wieder nach oben mit meinem Bucket.
Wait, Stanley said to the bucket. Can we go back up? When I was pressing those keypad buttons, there was something very intriguing about the number 3. I want to go back so I can try pressing the number 3 again. The bucket said nothing.
Haben wir dann unsere Pressekonferenz auch mit dem Eimer? Oder hat der Eimer eine Pressekonferenz? Oder kommt ganz was anderes? Kann auch sein. So, muss ich jetzt auf die 3 drücken?
Here we are, said Stanley. Now I'm going to try out that number 3 button. He took the bucket over to the keypad and began absolutely slamming on the number 3 over and over. Wow, he said. The number 3 is such a special button. I'm having the time of my life. Stanley looked expectantly at the bucket, but the bucket remained silent. This was a shock to Stanley, who had always felt such a connection with the bucket. How was this not as exciting to the bucket as it was to him? Once Stanley had had enough of the number 3, he got back in the elevator.
Und dann fahren wir wieder nach unten und dann fahren wir wieder nach oben. So.
Perhaps the bucket had missed something. Perhaps it had not seen how much joy Stanley got from slamming the number 3 repeatedly.
Ich weiß, worauf du aus bist, Erzähler. Du willst die spezielle Verbindung, die ich mit meinem Eimer habe, zunichte machen, aber niemals.
A hint of regret nagged in the back of Stanley's mind. Should he demonstrate the number 3 for the bucket again?
Ja.
No, said Stanley to the bucket. You can't go on yet. Not till you understand how much the number 3 means to me. You and I have been through so much together, and I just want you to see what I see. Feel the happiness I feel. He smiled at the bucket, and the bucket said nothing.
So, nochmal. Die Nummer 3 ist so toll.
Here we go, said Stanley. This time I'll really show you. He ran to the number 3 and began to wail on it like a musician on a beloved instrument, weaving a concerto of truth and passion. He wielded the number 3 like a fine artist would wield a paintbrush. He told stories through the number 3, stories of his dreams and hopes and fears. And the whole time, he looked to his bucket for a reaction of some kind. Anything to let him know that the bucket appreciated what he was doing. The bucket conveyed absolutely nothing at all, only silence. Crushed by a wave of dejection, Stanley returned to the elevator.
Oh, ich fühle mich so zurückgewiesen. Oh, ich bin so traurig. Nein, oh Gott, mein Eimer gibt mir nicht die Anerkennung, die ich möchte. Ich weiß, insgeheim liebt mich.
Stanley and the bucket were so close. They'd always been there for one another. Why suddenly could the bucket not connect with this passion of Stanley's? The question caused Stanley to ruminate the whole way down the elevator. He knew that there must be a way to get through to the bucket, to communicate fully with his dear friend. Surely there was a solution, mustn't there be?
Vielleicht lernen wir jetzt noch mit unserem Eimer zu kommunizieren, fände ich super.
Said Stanley. I know what to do. I know how to fully express this feeling in my heart. He decided right then and there that he would hold a press conference where he would speak to the public on all matters relating to pressing the number 3 over and over. He would elaborate fully on what the number 3 meant to him and why he felt so alive when pressing it. Then the bucket would be able to see his joy through the eyes of others. It would get to see the world react to this discovery of Stanley's. And it would be through the public eye that the bucket would finally understand Stanley's work.
Ja, also ich muss sagen,
For months he advertised and marketed his press conference, building excitement around it, developing and rehearsing it, until it couldn't be refined a single measure further. When the big day arrived, Stanley was as prepared as he'd ever been for anything in his life.
Ja, also die Nummer 3 zu drücken ist ein wahres Erlebnis für die Sinne. Ich kann es nur weiterempfehlen. Solltet ihr eine Tastatur, ein Handy oder ein sonstiges Gerät mit einer Taste für die Nummer 3 vor euch oder in eurer Nähe liegen haben, probiert's doch einfach mal aus. Drückt mal auf die 3 und auch nicht nur einmal, gerne auch mehrfach. Und spürt mal in euch rein, was das mit euch anstellt. Nur sehr, sehr weiter zu empfehlen. To stage 3. Hier steht jetzt auch überall nur 3.
This was it. One last chance to win the bucket over. One opportunity to share a true connection with a loved one.
Jetzt ist das Buch auch 3 again, the Stanley Story. 3, that's the magic number. Yes, it is. Popular song, okay. A shockingly 3-dimensional character. Thurston, ich kann es nicht genau lesen, irgendwas der 3. 3-Star Magazine. Na dann, auf on stage. Lassen wir die ganze Welt wissen, wie wundervoll die Zahl 3 ist.
There was no one here.
Oh.
Nobody had come to the press conference to hear Stanley speak. to listen to him talk about what it really means to press the number 3 on a keypad over and over. He was unloved, uninteresting, he was a failure, and in that moment Stanley knew that the bucket would never again take him seriously. There would be no connection, no deeper understanding. The bucket merely sat there in his arms, indifferent. And so it began that slowly, over many years, the two of them grew more and more distant. They spoke less and less, neither wishing to state the obvious, that any sense of real respect between them had eroded since that day at the press conference. There would be no more games, no more long conversations about passion and pursuit, only a silence that consumed the space between friends. And Stanley, having for once in his life discovered the warmth and comfort of true companionship, was cast back into the unremarkable normalcy of loneliness.
Ja, das ist dramatisch hier. Und da stand ganz kurz ein Stück Untertitel noch. Ich konnte es jetzt nicht so schnell lesen. Ihr könnt ja mal kurz Pause machen und zurückspulen und lesen, was da stand. Ich glaube, das war aber was wir gerade schon gehört hatten. Bin mir nicht sicher. Kleiner Fehler jedenfalls. Aber wie geil einfach, was die wieder für Emotionen, für Stories, für weltbewegende Events hier wieder stattfinden, einfach nur durch unseren Eimer-Chan. Es ist der Wahnsinn.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Where are we going today? The bucket asked. Stanley just smiled. Anywhere they went together would be perfectly fine with him.
Ja, wir machen nämlich auch wieder was wir vorhin erst gemacht haben. Wir klettern hier wieder durchs Fenster. Das
Stanley
war ja
clung the
so
bucket to his
lustig.
cheek. Could his co-workers really all be gone?
Hier wieder hochkraxeln. Das ist ein bisschen anstrengend. So.
Yes, whispered the bucket into Stanley's ear. We've done it. We've escaped from that dull office and that pesky narrator. At last, out here in the white void, we are alone. Now, and for the first time, I can reveal to you my true self. The bucket began to tell Stanley of its life and its history, of the countless wars it witnessed, desecrating the land and lives of untold numbers of innocent humans, and the bucket's own complicity therein, of sadness and regret, and the many years it spent dwelling on the actions it might have taken to curb the madness and the decay, if only it had been stronger, of hope and redemption, and its crusade to uplift the stock of life for the common man, to manifest justice where none existed, and the bittersweet reality of time, to see one's dreams and wishes met halfway, meted out in parcels like charity, and abandoned as soon as the warm glow of inspiration begins to dim. The opportunities to do so much more. There was so much it could have done, perhaps, the bucket wondered to itself. Perhaps if it had seen its own darkness with a clearer perception. This was way too much for Stanley. What are you talking about? He screamed. You're a bucket! To this, the bucket furrowed its brow. No, said the bucket. Not since the evil wizard Gambhorata first ensnared me in his machinations as payback for the sacred amulet I stole from his treasured vaults. I was young back then and could not conceive the ramifications of... No! Stanley screamed even louder this time. This is stupid! You are a bucket! This is so stupid! Why are we even doing this? As Stanley screamed and screamed and screamed, the bucket revealed its true form, transforming into a mighty beast of untold power, its fangs glistening like... My God, Stanley,
What?
You did it. You saved us from the bucket. Thank God you already had all 12 emblems of sages and knew the incantations to summon their true power. Otherwise, we would have easily been overwhelmed by the bucket's power. I'm speechless. You've demonstrated such bravery here today. Come, let's restart the game, and we'll agree to never again go trifling with this bucket. nor the dark magic cast away inside of it.
Was? Erstens mal, was ist mit dem Office los? Und zweitens, was? Was haben die geraucht? Ich will auch ein Stück davon. So eine ganze Eimer-Backstory mit. Und wir haben einfach Eimer-chan getötet. Nein. Auch wenn er irgendein komisches, weltenverschlingendes Eldritch-Monster war, aber es war doch Eimer-chan. Wir sind doch durch dick und dünn und durch so viele Dinge schon mit ihm gegangen. Kann es nicht glauben.